Almighty God, you have blessed us with memory, reason, and skill. Help us to use them wisely in the service of our town government. We ask this in thy holy name, amen. We salute the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I thank you all for coming. The first thing I'd like on the agenda, pass it over, please. Thank you, Billy. We have an opening on our town board. I'd like to read a letter I got from Dennis Roberts. I would like to take this opportunity to notify you of my interest in filling the current vacant town council seat due to the unfortunate death of Councilman Pedro. Since January 2010, I have served as a member of the Rouse's Point Village Board of Trustees. Please be assured I will bring the same sense of dedication to the town of Champlain that I have given to the village of Rouse's Point. I believe my experience as a village trustee will be an asset to the town board. I am a team player. However, I base my decisions what I feel is best interest for the village and town residents. I have lived in the town of Champlain all my life. I feel it is important to preserve what the town has to offer as well build and grow with the future generations. I welcome the opportunity to be part of your team and we appreciate your support in appointing me to fill a vacant councilman position. It is my recommendation that Dennis be appointed up until the next election only. That's the only thing we can do there. We can't appoint past the next election. At the next election, that seat will have to be filled through the voting process. I feel that Dennis, he ran 2.5 years ago approximately, and he came very close to joining us then. I feel he'd be an asset to us at this time. If it's the desire of the board, I'd like a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve Dennis Roberts as fulfilling the unexpired term of Councilman Pedro.
Second.
Thank you. I'll have a roll call vote on that, Joey. John Cooper?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Dick?
Aye.
Aye for myself. Thank you all. We encourage you to come and join us. Thank you.
Dennis?
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Does anyone in the audience have any opinions or concerns or issues they'd like to share with us?
No, I have a lot of opinions, but I'll be quiet.
I'd heard that.
That's not like you.
I just wasn't sure it was true.
Paperwork for 'em?
All right, let me,
Yeah, just
yeah,
a second.
I'm not in a hurry.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Dennis, I'm gonna swear you in. I, Dennis Roberts, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of council member according to the best of my ability. Congratulations.
Harry, you're next.
Okay, thank you. Just a couple of things. First of all, and I wasn't sure whether the town board would be interested in getting a monthly report on sales tax or not. It is available to you if you want it. We get one every month at the county level to let you know where the sales tax is. And right now, the county is up $709,000 above where we had actually projected, which is quite incredible in 3 months. The towns and villages are up about $352,000. I don't remember the exact number, but you're about somewhere between 6 and 8%. No?
Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
Of assessment of the total county, yes, somewhere in that neighborhood. So you can do the extrapolation in terms of funding that may become available to you at the end of the year. But it's positive news, and of course, we're still coming into the season at the county where, you know, we're gonna see a lot more influx with the tournaments and so on, so we're hoping for even more in terms of revenue. Secondly, I just wanted to, you may have known this already, but we've charged many of the areas in the county with trying to come up with avenues for saving money. It's the newest thing in terms of forcing every individual department to come up with something, a target, and say, save us some money. As you may know, we did that with the Board of Elections. They were able to consolidate in the town of Champlain and make 4 districts into 3. And that savings overall for Clinton County was $53,000, but specifically for the town of Champlain was $6,000. So that's a positive thing. Much of that comes specifically from the workers, but still, it's a positive, and I don't think it's going to be a hardship at all. Government has to be leaner and more efficient, and that's what we're trying to do. You probably read in the paper that we're in a situation where we're running a deficit for the Clinton County public transit. We are going to have to cut back. We voted last night to do that. We're going to be saving about $85,000 in routes. It's a combination of things, nothing in the town of Champlain. Your numbers are consistent, and so that will not change more. There are some changes over there in terms of numbers of runs. We get paid not only by the number of participants, we could also get paid by the number of miles, but those numbers are going down from the state. So this $85,000, although it looks good, may well end up just breaking us even for 2012. We're not sure yet, but at least we're making the effort in that area. You probably read a lot about the airport. I know that the town supervisor called me when I was out at a tennis tournament in Indian Wells, California, to try and get the latest, and it didn't occur to me right away that there was a 3-hour time differential when I called back and couldn't find anybody at the county at all to say what the heck is going on. But anyway, I'm sure you're aware of the situation with direct air. I didn't realize that it affected 14 people on my street and the next street over, just alone in Rouse's Point. Families that had to either fly out of Burlington or drive or whatever. So it was a tremendous hardship. Hopefully all those monies will at least come back to those people, and there's a mechanism for that. We are hoping that Allegiant Air will pick up the slack come May. That's the plan. We don't know. Of course, now is the time. If you were going to get out of the North Country, this is when everybody wants to go, and the flights are booked and so on. But I do know of some people who flew out of Burlington, just to give you an example, cost them $1,700 for a family of 4, more than it cost to fly out of Plattsburgh on direct air. This would have been JetBlue out of Burlington, so that's a considerable amount of money. There has been a lot of talk about the airport expansion. The numbers do keep going up in terms of what it's going to cost for that expansion. We are somewhere between 35 and 40 million right now for the expansion, but the one thing that the county legislature has insisted upon is that we're not going to dip into taxpayers' funds for this expansion. And right now, it's looking like with the federal monies that are available to us and our revenue, which comes both from the facilities charge and also from parking, that we will be able to pay off the bond note and not dip into taxpayers' monies for this expansion. And of course, with that expansion, we believe will come many more airlines and many more choices for people in the county. I have been involved with Alan on the Hayford Road. I know that Larry, you and I have talked too, and we were actually out there again today, and I guess there's a resolution on the agenda tonight. Is that right? Is it on?
It isn't on, but I'm going to present it.
Oh, you're going to present, I'm sorry, okay. Looking at it and so on, and the counters are up. We actually met with Al Rasco today on the road, and surprisingly, I thought there was only one person. This was over a 5-day period, I believe, from last Thursday through Monday, one person that was actually going over 55, which, you know, is something. And they actually slowed down tremendously in the area. The average speed, I think, in the area around where the golf course was 35. So, I mean, I know that's not where the individuals who submitted the petition were looking at. It did increase as we went, and the one person speeding was at the far end near Route 11. That was going, I think it was 65. But just interesting, so they're gonna continue to monitor that and so on, and I guess you're gonna go ahead and put up some signs and so on, so I think that's a real positive. I can't speak enough for the county transportation department. I think they're just the best. And Al Rasco is, for whatever reason, I sat in your position, which leads me into the next one. I sat in your position, it was 16 years ago now, as a town board member, talking about a multi-use recreation trail. And Al Rasco came up here and did some work. And the irony to me was the proposed route back in those days was along the Prospect Hill Road, not along the old railroad bed. And through a series of phone calls and negotiations, at least one of the individuals who owns a huge portion of that track really wants it to be motorized vehicles. And of course, you can't, it's almost impossible to amalgamate motorized vehicles and walking and biking and so on. So we've abandoned that, and we met today again with Alan out there, and I have some a tentative route here to take a look at. The one thing that we did do was cost it out, and it's expensive, okay, which I guess we all knew, but anyway. So, again, the first objective is to try and get this up from Rouse's Point over. This would be a 10-foot strip. Alan wisely was able to build a portion of that on the golf course side. And it looked like, didn't it, Alan, that we were able to maybe do something out there. And of course, your contribution would be in the form of services and so on, not necessarily any monies. But however, if you look at the cost, it's considerable, over $800,000. And the only thing I can say to that is that this may have to be built in stages. The grant we're going for, the state grant, is $400,000, and it's a matching grant that will be submitted. It's almost done, actually. Will be submitted in the end of the summer, and we should know by December whether or not we're going to receive that $400,000. Beyond that, if Department of Transportation funding becomes available, that's an 80-20 match. So we're hoping to take this, retool it, and see if we can get some ancillary funds from Department of Transportation, federal government, to help us out here. But so from Rouse's Point up through the Hayford Road, there'd be a 10-foot path on the south side of Prospect Hill. And then we would split and go both sides to where it comes over on the old Rutland Railroad. However, we have not consummated the deal yet. So this, when we have letters out to both Mr. Filion, and I met with him personally, and Mr. Bedard, we may end up having to go the entire route, but all the way down. But the bottom line is the concept here was always one of getting people from Rouse's Point to the proposed town rec center. I mean, that's what we were hoping for, and that's been the goal of this project right from the very beginning. This is one way. So the last part of this, the last yellow part, we have not done that. That's one proposal, but as you can see, it's been costed out and so on. So in any event, this is where we are. I don't really have any questions on it or whatever, but it will not be a motorized thing. Although, you know, in the winter time, I don't think that, from our point of view, we're not 100% sure, but I don't know that there's going to be any prohibition against snowmobilers potentially using this. Okay, I don't know that. I know the four-wheelers. That's something that, you know, one of the owners felt very strongly about, and so they will have a separate area, won't have anything to do with us, and it's on private property. So, but initially, we had talked about, was there some way to combine the two? Instead of a 10-foot path, could you do a 10 or a 15 and a 15 or something and separate them? And by the time we put up barriers and everything between the two, it just wasn't gonna happen. So, in any event, that's where we are right now. The grant will be submitted. If we don't get it, obviously, there's no, we may resubmit again for a Department of Transportation grant, or if we do get it, we will submit one for the Department of Transportation, the federal grant anyway, to try and build up more funding. But Alan and I did talk about this today, and he felt that it might be possible, obviously with the town board support, to do a lot of the work potentially next summer. This would be the tentative plan if we got the grant. So, in any event, that's all I have.
The winter maintenance on this,
Pardon me?
the winter maintenance, as far as plowing it or whatever.
Yeah, there would not be any. There's no winter maintenance. We're not gonna, it's not going to be plowed.
Maybe that's something that could be done with the snowmobilers,
Yeah.
that they groom trails.
Right, if they
And
wanted to,
maybe
right.
that could be, because I'm thinking, cross-country skiers, maybe if it's 10 foot wide, maybe there could be a courtesy trail for cross-country
Right.
skiers with, 10 foot's a good size, where you could be, cautiously, if it's a traverse, some type of regulated trail.
Yeah.
Because everybody's always talking about.
Well, they seem to coexist frequently in other areas, certainly in Vermont.
Absolutely.
But the coexistence part with the four-wheelers is something that just is not there.
No.
But snowmobilers and
Cross-country
the cross-country skiers and the walkers and the bike people in the summer, that's something that you can do, so.
Absolutely.
It'd be right on the edge of our pavement?
No, we were looking at about a 3-foot barrier between 3 to 4, depending on what the law says. Al wasn't quite sure about that, but 3 to 4 feet possibly, maybe a little more. And then, but this is only from Rouse's Point to the Hayford Road. Then after that, it would be a contiguous, it'd be 5 feet on either side, up through where the railroad comes across.
Is there any feasibility in including grant application efforts for the park as part of this?
Now, this is I think that it will enhance your process if you have direct access from a previous grant. But this particular one, if you want to, we certainly can take a look at it, but we would need somebody, you would need to employ somebody to write the grant but I also think that, I don't know what the plan is for the town. Is the plan to ultimately look for grant funding for this?
Well, there's probably no other way we can have that part,
Yeah.
if we don't get some grant funding.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, after the presentation, I think we had talked before, and I think Calvin had put it on, and I also think there was an article, wasn't in the Press Republican, but there was something in the North Countryman that I received many calls of people who were willing to, some professional people and people that worked with roads and so on that talked about, a voluntary submission, especially if it could be used as part of the match, which it can be. And so, I don't know, but you're gonna be up against the same situation probably with some matching funding for the park. But the first steps in this process are to get some kind of idea what you want in that park, and then come up with some cost estimates and so on. And I'll check into that, Steve. I don't.
Because they connect, in my mind,
Yeah, absolutely.
they're interconnected.
Absolutely.
And I'm not trying to add more work and effort to what you're doing, because I
Yeah.
appreciate what you're doing, but
I don't-
we originally had a committee together, how many years ago, Mickey? 4 or 5 years ago?
Not even that long.
And somebody in your family was gonna help us with some design stuff. He was,
There is a
he's
burial
an
ground on
architect.
that.
Oh, my
site.
brother-in-law.
Landscape, yeah.
He talked about
On
it,
that part,
yeah,
yeah.
okay, that's
Just
right.
I can't, just one second. I'm sorry.
Didn't mean to put you on the spot, but we had done some preliminary get-togethers on how we could feasibly do this.
Okay.
But it always comes back to money, so
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make a connection between your efforts and
Well, it
pushing
would
us
have to
to
be a
put out the
separate,
property.
because the maximum for us is 400,000, and we're gonna need all, even if we just do the strip from Rouse's Point to the Hayford Road as a preliminary, we're gonna need that money for that. So this would have to be a separate thing, but I do think one would add points to the other. If
Right.
one was granted, I think it would help the other one. But whether or not, there's, I will get back to you though, I'm sure, I only looked at the rec trail part of this grant, but it's a park and recreation grant. So there may well be some monies in there for town parks and so on. The best thing for me would be, or for you guys, I think, would be to try and get some if you can get some member money as a, even 5 or 10,000, and then, employ somebody to do the work and take your ideas and put them down on paper and submit the grant. That to me would be the best thing. And I think in the past, our two representatives have been supportive of those kinds of initiatives, so
There's a burial ground on that site,
I'm aware of that.
and we're hoping there'd be some type of grants to identify that burial ground and possibly put a fence around it sometime to preserve it.
Sean Lucas, the individual from the planning department who's working with me, has a contact at Plattsburgh State, I think, and they were gonna look at that whole issue of, if we were gonna run the bike path over it, because there's a person there with some idea and so on. But then our goal became one of just getting to the park. The only other issue, and we did make a presentation to the school board, is we wanted to run it across, so there'd be a cross area over 276 to wherever the school board voted yes to allow that to happen. They did not, at this point, give us the best place to do that. We're thinking more on the southern part of the school, but then there'd be direct access from Rouse's Point to the rec center, across the street to there. Of course, ultimately, the town, or the village of Champlain is interested in seeing that go from Prospect in the back all the way up, so there's actually be connecting the two communities, and that's where we started this, but it becomes cost prohibitive. I mean, even if you look at what we've done here, we may ultimately, if we get the grant, do this in steps, and that may be ultimately the best way to do this, but we'll see. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, and this one is a definite. We're gonna submit it, and we're gonna see what happens. We're gonna have all our documentation and so on, and certainly I will give a copy to the town as soon as it's ready, so you can take a look at it at your meetings, and I will check on that for you, Steve, and see where we are on that, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, Harry.
Thank you, Harry.
Before you get going, Sean Lucas did contact me on that site of the cemetery, and I assured him that it was far enough away from the old railroad bed that having a trail through there would not impact, because it's several hundred feet away from the railroad bed, so that's what happened to the worrying about.
Wasn't there a person though at Plattsburgh State who had, I thought there was somebody at Plattsburgh State that had done some work up here and had some ideas on that? Because that'll have to be included if the town goes for a grant. Larry, you're 100% right on that. That's gonna have to be included in there. They're gonna have to delineate a specific area.
Well, if you look at the 1869 map, you can see where the property that's now part of the Robinson Farm was cut off by the railroad tracks in around 1850.
Okay,
At that point, it was still part of that farm, but after that, it became part of the Dewey Farm, or Louis Biddard's farm. So that was part of that portion, that little piece of pie there in the corner was deeded over to the town as part of this here. So you've got a couple hundred feet that was originally part of the Robinson Farm that separates the railroad tracks from the original Dewey property, and the cemetery was on the southwest corner of the Dewey property, original Dewey property. So it's far enough away that
shouldn't be a problem.
yeah. And as everybody on board knows, in 2014 there'll be a ceremony there to end the Battle of Plattsburgh 200th anniversary celebration. And unfortunately, Tom Mandeville, the town historian hasn't been able to make the last two meetings with the people from the chamber and the other historians who are on this committee, so I've gone in his stead. But what we've got right now is a piecemeal thing going on, and I think we had a very successful quadricentennial committee, and followed that up with a nice 250th celebration of the Battle of Rogers Rangers at Point of Fair the next year. I think maybe Richard could get in contact with Tom and see if there's some people he would welcome on that committee. So it's not just him. I had no intention to ever go into these meetings or being a part of it, but all of a sudden Tom can't go, and who else is going to go? But right now, like, each community is getting banners similar to what we have with the quadricentennial. But the town ordered theirs separately, the village of Rouse's Point ordered theirs separately, the village of Champlain ordered theirs separately. And I think this really should be a coordinated effort, where all three communities are working as one on this. So if there's a way to, for the board to approach Tom and find out who he'd like to have on a committee, and get representatives from Rouse's Point, representatives from the village and the township.
My first thought is when you're talking, he works with this Tom Prey.
Yeah.
Remember Tom?
Oh, yeah, he definitely wants Tom on his committee.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
Yeah.
It's definitely.
But we need people from our town.
The town itself.
Yeah.
Well, let me talk to him with you as well. Maybe we can get together, and I'll see where it stands. I mean, it says it's 2014, but
That's tomorrow.
it comes upon us before you know it. I know that.
Yeah, and we got to fight, because if I hadn't been to those last two meetings, they're putting together a map, and they're not even including the cemetery. They weren't going to include the cemetery, including Dewey Tavern, but they weren't including the cemetery. Their plan at the last meeting was to wrap it up on after the September 11th weekend. We're having our event the following weekend, because the British and the Indian compatriots and the French Quebecois came through on August 28th when they first showed up. They left on September 25th. That's when they left Dewey Tavern. So that battle, even though the battle was over, the invasion wasn't over until September 25th. And we've got to, if we don't stand up for our history, we can't rely on Beekmantown and the Shazy and Plattsburgh to do it, because they're worried about their own history. So we've got to be standing up for our history. So it's important that we get this committee active and get people that Tom wants to work with. And
Okay. I'll be communicating with him. So.
Okay.
And I'll definitely get in touch with Tom. Thanks, Calvin.
Yep.
Thank you. Need a motion to approve the minutes with a change. Second page. Julie, the second paragraph.
Thank you very much, Harry.
I fixed it.
Okay, we didn't fix it on ours. Okay.
Well, I did on theirs, I think, or not. I didn't fix it on yours.
Okay, so you're,
Yeah, I fixed it.
okay, okay. Okay, then I do need a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented. March 13th.
I'll second that.
Any questions on the minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Town clerk's monthly report. Need a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the town clerk's monthly report for March 2012.
Any questions on that? I'll second it. Thank you. Any questions on the town clerk's monthly report? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Something new that we've been advised by our auditors is to approve the utility bills, pre-billing report, I guess you would call it. It's the first time we've done that, it's coordinated billing. For some reason, auditors thought we should approve those bills. I do need a motion to approve the
I make a motion.
utility pre-billing report.
I make a motion to approve the pre-building utility report.
I'll second that motion.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Got a letter from the St. Lawrence County Board of Legislators pertaining to resolution reinforcing support for the construction of Interstate 98, corridor supporting improvements to US Route 11, and to give priority to Canton, Potsdam, and Governor areas. This is something that we did support before. They're asking, I don't think it's going to be a four-lane highway like they expected. They're going to improve Route 11. I think they're asking for our support. I think any improvements in Route 11 would be more than welcome. Yes.
I make a motion that we support any improvements on Route 11, giving priority to Canton, Potsdam, and Governor areas, I guess.
It's called Interstate 89 multi corridor.
In which they've done their share of
Yes.
work in our area as
Yeah,
well.
yes.
That's in form of a motion.
Thank you. I need a second.
I guess I'll second it, if I have a comment.
Yes.
Why would we give priority to Canton, Potsdam, and Governor in motion?
I guess,
Yeah.
there were the three biggest cities coming east out of Watertown Way, until you get over here, you know. I have concerns about that too, but, they want that truck traffic.
Can I make a suggestion that we amend the resolution to just say improvements to Route 11 and not give priority to Canton, Potsdam, and Governor?
I'd accept that.
I can retract my motion
As-
and just support
Motion as approved?
Motion.
As amended? As amended,
as amended, yeah.
okay. Is that that, David?
Good point.
Okay. Any other questions? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
So we're gonna be specific about that, saying that it's just,
We're not gonna.
just Route 11.
Those words.
Okay, all right, very good. Good catch, Steve.
The Association of Towns sent us a letter pertaining to, the current pending with state legislature is, pending is the Hurricane Irene and Tropical Storm Lee Assessment Relief Act. Basically what they're doing, they're extending the timeline for the towns and private homeowners to put in a claim, okay? Until December 9th, 2012. So if anybody's got any questions on that, either come in and get a copy of it or give us a call. That's for your information only. The next one is amendment, the proposed rate adjustment for 2012. The rate adjustment should produce an approximate decrease of 3.1%, best news I've heard in a while. That's for your information only. The next thing is recreational risk. This is for our parks, and we only have one park, and that is the Paris Mills Park, and I think most of that equipment's out there, isn't that one?
Yeah, there's a set of leaders down there.
Okay. It tells, you can read it over, our responsibilities as far as keeping it up as safe as possible. That's just a suggestion from the handbook from Niner. We got an email from a Tom Kavanaugh. And he will be walking from the Canadian border to Long Island to stop unfunded mandates. Okay, he'll be walking through Champlain this coming Sunday, April 15th. We'll be meeting here at town offices to send them off. Anybody here or anybody in the public would like to come and send them off. He's walking 300 some miles altogether, 20, 30 miles a day, which would be quite a task after the first couple of days, I would think.
I'm impressed.
And he's encouraging, I talked to him once, I have never met the guy. He's encouraging anybody that wants to walk with him from here as far south if they want to go. I said I might make the first four corner down here or something, that's as far as I would go. Strictly for your information only. Time Warner internal restructuring. There'll be no changes in our commitment to provide customer service. Okay, they're doing some internal restructuring. I don't know why they send us these letters. They're gonna do what they want. It's their company. Do not need our approval. It says here, this transaction does not require any action on your part. So it's just for our information only. As far as I know, our customers will get the same services they've always gotten. You have your work schedule for the real property office. They're here every Monday and Friday. On Fridays, they're in the office all day. On Mondays, you're kind of taking your chances. They're in the office, in and out, appraising properties. But on Fridays, they're always here. You have your dog controller's, dog complaint officer's log. That's for their information on you. North Country Life Flight, that's a helicopter service for medically needs. And we contribute, I believe it's $200 a year to that, and they sent us a thank you note. Which is good. Rural Water Association will be honoring their 10, 15, 20, 25-year, 35-year members. And we got a copy of our 10-year membership certificate from them that we've belonged that long. Just for your information. We have a request from the Rouse's Point Fire Department for 2 resolutions to be presented to 2 of their members on May 5th at a dinner, one of them being George Rivers for 55 years of service, and the other one is Benjamin Arnold, celebrating 40 years of service. I would like a motion to approve, and I've been asked to be there to present these.
I make a motion to approve a resolution for George Rivers and Benjamin Arnold.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Jane has the original copy of this, so everybody's got to come in between now and May 5th, sign them. Okay? I'll get, the new councilman's name is not on here, but there will be, okay? Will be worked. Mickey, will you address the zoning, update that we want to do?
Yeah, we received a proposal from AES Northeast for upgrading or updating our zoning. I just got it yesterday, so I just started passing out the proposals to different ones. But what we intend to do is have him come to the next town board meeting and basically describe or explain what he's gonna do, and everybody will all be on the same page that way. He'd like to get started by the end of May. It's about a 9-month process to do everything. But I read through the proposal, I thought it was pretty good.
It is.
So, but I would like to have him come, and we spoke with Larry earlier about it, and I think it's a good idea that, I mean, he offered this service when we met last time, so I think we'll have him come at the next town board meeting and present it, and then if that's what, if you hear what you like, then I would encourage you to sign the agreement with him, and we get started with this.
Okay. I mentioned to Nikki earlier, I think that's the best way to do it. We can read it, but we need somebody to explain it to us.
Right.
And I think, Nikki, give the guy a call, see if we can set that up for him, Tuesday in May. No objections.
Are we gonna invite Bruce, Susan, and?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, all the committee, I mean,
Yeah.
everybody that's involved with it, and the public, anybody
I talked to
has an interest in it should come, really.
Right, agreed. Yeah, no, that zoning board will be on the whole board. Anybody that wants to come. Okay. We need to approve the contract that we agreed to with golf course, North Country Golf Club.
Before you get, should we request that they be here next meeting?
Well, you want that in the minutes?
I would think so. I mean, we're saying it right now, but how do we say that they're gonna be here? You know what I mean? They're not gonna see the minutes of the meeting.
No.
Should we request, being that this is gonna be presented at next meeting, that their attendance be here?
Make, put something in.
I would think.
Minutes on that. I don't think we need a motion on that, it's just.
No, but it's not a motion, it's just a request. I mean, we can say it, we all understand that, but if they don't, they're not requested to be here.
Mhm. Okay, no problem there.
I'm sorry.
That's okay, that's okay. We had to have our town attorney rewrite contract for a one-year contract with the North Country Golf Club. I got two copies, I got one for us and one for them. When they're signed, they need to have, you have to be notarized. So I need permission. Does anybody want a copy to look at tonight? I think everybody knows what it is. Okay? So I'd like a motion to approve the contract as Bill Philo sent back to us for the year 2012.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract between the town and the golf course, amending it to a one-year contract for the year 2012.
Thank you.
I'll second that motion.
Is there any questions on the contract?
I'm just gonna respectfully abstain from voting because I really don't know the specifics, so I don't wanna vote on something that I won't want it to well, so.
I understand that. Other than that, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nobody's opposed, okay. Good. Will you be in contact with Alan? Just tell him?
Yes, because we had conversed about it prior to, I will tell him that he has to come here.
It has to be notarized.
Notarized.
Yes. And Julie or
Yep.
Becky are both notaries, and you might want to call ahead, that's up to him, okay?
Okay.
Superintendent of Highways report, Alan?
I'm gonna need a resolution, a motion to extend the 35-mile-an-hour speed limit on the Lake Shore Road from the existing speed limit sign now to 9B. It's a little confusing, but if you start to the other side of the railroad track and work yourself towards 9B, there's a new marina that's opening, and they want to reduce the speed limit. So I need a resolution to reduce it. I measured it, there's approximately 3,695 feet from the existing speed sign there now to 9B. So it's a simple resolution. It's turned over to the county, and the county turns it over to the state, and the state determines if it's feasible to reduce that. I was there today, they're gonna open up that little marina tonight. There's no place for them to park. They're gonna have to park.
Down in the hole?
They're gonna have to park inside the road, so it's gonna be like a dangerous thing. And you got the farm right down the road from there, you know, so it is gonna be a little congested there this summer. Then you got the other marinas across the tracks, that's 35 miles an hour there, but it's gonna be 35 miles from 9B if this goes through, all the way almost past where Lord Marinas was, before the curve.
And right now, that zone is 45.
Right now it's 55.
Part of it's 35.
35 across the track.
Yeah. Okay. Does everybody understand? So we need a motion to approve, to reduce the speed limit on Lake Shore Road, we call it.
Lake Shore Road.
Lake Shore Road from 9B for
3,695 feet.
3,695 feet there. Alan's been in contact with the county highway department, and they, the ones that recommended this, so they need our motion to get the wheels moving.
So in other words, you're talking from Denise's, at the corner,
Yeah,
from
from
Denise.
there,
to
across
the
the
railroad.
tracks, you're gonna see a sign 35 miles an hour. It's not facing them. But if you're coming from the other way, you start from there to 9B.
I'll make a motion to reduce the speed limit for 3,695 feet in the aforementioned area that we just mentioned.
I'll second that.
Any questions on this?
So this is just to give our approval for requesting it to be.
It's just a request, it's a resolution, it's just a request, the
Right.
county gets it, then they turn it over to the state. The state monitors it, whether it's gonna go through or not, that's not.
He is accepted, yeah.
Okay. Have a motion and a second. Is there any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. The doors, Alan, you wanna mention those?
Okay, now, I got another one here on the Hereford Road. I'm gonna need a resolution for that. I just received it, I worked with Harry late this afternoon. It's from Article 41, Section 1660. This is to prevent the exclusion of trucks, commercial vehicles, tractors, and other highways specified by the town board on the Hayford Road, the section between Route 11 and Prospect Street.
Do you like to put a weight limit on it, is that what you're gonna do?
No, I just want to prevent big trucks from going through there, tractor trailers,
Except deliveries.
except delivery.
Okay.
But I'm gonna have signs, a truck sign with a slash across, but underneath I'm gonna have for local deliveries only. I
So
spoke to
anything-
Al Rascal today, but to make this legal, I gotta have a town resolution that it prevents, tractor trailers from going. Well, we were there this afternoon with the logging truck that went through. I mean, they don't really have to go through there, they can come through 276, it's like an escape route for those guys. And we were trying to control the speed limit there and decided to get the truck out of there. I mean, when you got the golf course going on, you got cars parked on both sides of the road, you don't wanna meet a tractor trailer going through there.
No.
Which they don't really have the business of going through it. If that was the only route, it'd be different, but they don't, they got 276 to come through.
Absolutely.
But like Al Rasco told me, you gotta have a board resolution before I go put those signs up there.
It's gonna say no truck or no tractor
And it's
trailer?
gonna have a picture of a truck with a slash through it, but underneath it, I'm gonna have that little thing saying.
How about the garbage trucks?
It's local delivery.
Local delivery.
You know, like the fuel truck, your local trucks.
Anything, beer trucks or something?
Yeah, the trucks that's gotta go to the golf course, they'll be all right. As long as that's underneath that sign. I'm getting them made now.
I'd like to make a motion to approve a resolution limiting the use of the Hayford Road from Route 11 to the Prospect Hill Road, the use of automobiles, not automobiles, but no trucks except deliveries.
I'll second that motion.
Any questions on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried, thank you.
Okay, at last board meeting, I had mentioned getting these overhead doors repaired here. So I got a quote, the guy's gonna change the hardware, the hinges, the bottom fixtures. He's gonna put new cables, stainless steel cables. He's gonna put new weather stripping on top of the doors, heavier duty rollers. He's gonna adjust everything, put all new belts for the operators. And one door, the one that's in the back, is in tough shape, he's gonna put a new bottom section on. The whole thing is $4,700, but he gave me an option, which is $240 more per door, which is a safety. Like if the door's coming down, one guy forgot something, the door stops. You know what I mean? You can run underneath the door stops. You gotta reset the door to make it come back down. Although we don't have that now. And it's kind of a safety, it's $240 more, so it comes out to about, around $6,000, $6,100 to fix all the doors.
Residential, you have to have that eye. I don't
Like
understand.
see here, it won't be an eye, it's a different thing, because the eye here, between salt and
Right.
sand stuff, it's a different type of,
That's
electric eye.
similar to that.
Yeah, it'll work the same way.
Makes sense.
Well, I told you guys I'd get an estimate how to get them fixed, because they are in tough shape. And while I was gone, one of those doors broke. Kind of scared the guy. Maybe someone would have been caught underneath there, it would have been a mess.
I'll make a motion to approve the quote that Alan has for $6,000 to repair the doors.
I'll second that motion.
Any questions on the estimate to fix the doors? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Anything else, Ellen, or?
That's it.
I know of no committee reports. Does anybody have any committee reports on that? None?
I was there, but I think you should
Shared
mention it.
services?
Yeah, I think you should mention that, that's.
Mickey, you want to address that? You chaired that meeting for the shared services meeting?
Well, sure, yeah, we had a meeting last week with both villages in the town, as well as the engineers from Bernier and Carr for the ongoing wastewater project. They've got it about 90% complete, and we had some good discussions about where the water would come from, and we didn't get into rates yet, but there's a lot of food for thought for everybody involved to think about here, because the grant season is coming up pretty quick, and we have to, there's gonna be some big decisions made. This is a big project. It involves 2 water tanks and a lot of repiping. So, we're just waiting for the figures to come back from the engineers, and then we're gonna have another meeting, and again, it'll be another joint meeting, we'll have everybody there and discuss it, so. I thought it went well, I mean, everybody was sitting down talking to one another, this is the first time this has happened.
Yeah, everybody was on board with the darn thing, and everybody got along, and the whole villages in the town are all in, we're all in the right, we're all on the same page as to what we're gonna do with the water. When he finishes up the report, we're gonna have another meeting, maybe you guys should come to that also. But we had to have our okay to go ahead and finish it up, and everybody voted to go ahead and finish it up. It's already been paid for, so we just wanted to be sure that both villages and the town were on board with the project, or there was no sense going forward. But it's a great project.
Okay, I thank you for that. It was a very good meeting.
Yeah.
Hopefully something will come out of it next few years here. You have anything, Julie, no? You, that's supposed to have bills to review. I need to approve the monthly bills.
Make a motion to approve the monthly bills.
Thank you, John.
I'll second that motion.
Any questions on any of the monthly bills? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried, thank you. Does anybody else have anything to bring before the board before I proceed to close? I can't imagine.
Just a thought on the that Route 98,
Yes.
the northeast rooftop highway. I think it's important that the town stay on top of that, because if they start improving that and they decide to stop in Ellenburg and send their improvements down the military turnpike, we could be left out in the cold. We've got to decide, and we got to decide what we want up here. Do we want just improvements as far as the Northway? Do we want them to head toward Rouse's Point? And if so, what happens to the vehicles that go toward Rouse's Point? Do they want them running through the village? Do they want them running down to Prospect Hill, down 276? You know, if this is going to be the eastern terminal of this rooftop highway, we've got to stay on top of it. Otherwise, it's going to, you know darn well, Plattsburgh is going to want to take it from the Ellenburg and run it down the military turnpike.
Well, they were talking at one time of spur going both ways, if I'm correct.
Yes, but it could very easily turn into one spur, and we'll get the spur.
Yeah, but people wanting to go across into Vermont wouldn't want to go to Plattsburgh and come back up, so. Good point, well taken. We'll try to keep up on that. I think that's way in the future. I don't believe that's in the next 5 years either.
I don't think so either, but you gotta stay on top of it.
Does anybody else have anything? If not, I do need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion we adjourn.
Second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? If so, I don't know why. Thank you all.